All right, guys, I am about to rip apart my audio guestbook that I bought on Aliexpress. It's a cheap blue. I'm sure you've seen these. They're selling them everywhere. I've already removed the handset and the battery. And then one of the things I want to point out is in the corners, there are these little rubber things. If you pull these off, there are 4 screws, one on each corner there. And you're just going to remove those screws to start with. And once you have removed the screws, the back will come right off. Look at that, super simple. And the first thing you'll notice is there are 2 wires going right down here. And guess what those wires are attached to? Yep, that's right. They're attached to that button that you press to hold down and make the handset record your greeting message. So you can disable that simply by putting a switch in line on one of those wires. Another thing I want to point out is when you hang up the handset, it pushes down this little spring-loaded lever, which in turn pushes this button down. So this is a momentary button. It's also spring-loaded, and when you press it down, it tells it that the handset is hung up. When you lift the handset, the spring on here raises the button back up, and boom, there it goes, your recording. All right, next up, I have removed all of the connectors. This board is actually kind of nice. It's all connected with the little connectors here, and they're all actually clearly labeled. One says hook, one says speaker, and so it made it really easy. And then this is obviously the push button there. This one was actually not even used right here. I believe that might be a secondary power source because the power where the battery plugs in is actually right here on the other side. We're going to remove that connector, and I'm going to solder some leads to the connector, and we're going to cut one of the leads and put a switch on it. So the battery will still be removable, and we'll also have a switch on it. So we have a switch for the power, and we'll also have a switch for the button on the front so that people can't record over your greeting. It'll be the perfect setup. Once I removed all 3 of the screws, there's one here, and one down here. This actually lifts right up, and my gosh, this thing is like ultra thin. There's only like maybe 3 chips on this whole thing. One little main chip down there that I can't quite seem to focus in on, right there in the middle. And then the other side pretty much has nothing, just the SD card, the handset hookup, and micro USB charger, a little light to tell you when the power's on, and then of course the spot where the battery plugs in. So it's a very minimal circuit board. This is definitely not your run-of-the-mill Raspberry Pi or anything. This is a proprietary board made just for this. Kind of interesting. One other thing I wanted to point out is the fact that this thing is so light. I mean, it is ridiculously light. They actually put little pieces of steel or ore or something in here to weight it down, because otherwise this thing would just be ridiculously light. I mean, the top half has got probably as much weight as the bottom does, and it's got a much thicker shell to it and a bunch of extra stuff in it. So yeah, this is weighted down, so otherwise it'd be ridiculously light for the whole phone. Most of this stuff here I probably will not need. I believe that the phone that I'm putting this into has a speaker. If it doesn't, I will use this one. All right, guys, this is the phone I'm going to be using. I think you can see why. It's got a little bit of kind of like gold trim on it. It's just a flashier, fancier looking phone. I really like the look of this phone better. It looks like it's higher quality materials. Everything about it seems a little bit higher quality. This is an actual phone. It's meant to be plugged into a landline and used, but I'm not going to do that. Obviously, we're going to use it for an audio guestbook, so it's time to pull the bottom off and gut this thing. All right, now this phone is very similar to the last one. There is a weight in the bottom, again, just like on the last phone. This one does have a speaker. It's a little bit smaller, probably not as good, but I'm going to stick with this. I mean, I really don't need to hear anything coming out of the phone. It's not necessary. The speaker is wired in, so I'm going to simply cut the wires, put the connector from the old one on here so it can plug right in. The circuit board here is obviously a lot more advanced. This is supposed to be used as a real phone, so this is kind of unnecessary for me. I'm going to desolder all the connections coming off the front number pad right here, and just simply use a continuity tester to figure out which one is the center button, and those two wires will use. The others will be clipped back. The same thing with the hanging up of the handset. Right back there, it's a push button just like the other one, a little bit better movement, and there's two wires that go down here, so those will be wired into the existing wires from the other one, and it'll plug in just like it did before. What I will have to do is this weight will likely have to be removed. What I may do is take the weights from this one and simply glue them into the sides or onto the sides here in a place that's not going to be in the way, basically. But when I'm done, this should be perfectly usable. All right, guys, here it is. I finally got it all wired in. You can see I Gorilla Glued the speaker down. I ended up using the speaker from the old one. It's a little bit louder and less tinny sounding, so kind of said, you know what, if it fits, let's do it, and it did fit, so just popped it right in. Didn't change anything on the outside. You'll see that in a second. Holes are exactly the same. Volume's fine, though. Here is the unit from the old one, the one I got from AliExpress. I did like the idea that the handset came out the back on this, so I kept that and just wired it right into the board here, because I really like the way that works, and then you don't have something coming out from the bottom, and you don't have to worry about where it's coming from. It's always coming from the back. It'll look a little bit nicer, less to get tangled. Everything else was pretty much a piece of cake. I ended up getting rid of the ribbon cables and just going to solid wires and soldering them directly to the board. I figured, why not do it right? And did some testing on it. Everything worked out pretty good. I ended up cutting the piece out of the other phone right off the bottom. I figured, why bother printing something? This will be a piece of cake, and it was. I just cut it. And it fits right on the bottom of this. I'm going to have some risers that'll go on these, so it'll clear fine. You can see this is where my battery is going to connect right here. And looky there, I've got a couple of switches hidden right inside the battery compartment. I'm going to label them, but this one right here is the power, and the second one is to turn that record button on and off. So if somebody holds that down for 3 seconds and the switch is off, they're not going to be able to overwrite my greeting. Other than that, everything's identical, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. All right, guys. Well, here it is, the finished product right here. I do have it turned off right now, but I want to show you what everything looks like. So I am going to print a little cover for this little hole here, and I will take care of that. You'll notice that my cord is plugged into the back, like I said it would be. But when I remove, this might be hard to do one-handed, but if I remove this cover like so, you can see my battery is in there and my switches right there. This one right here is my main power, and then this one here is for that push button to record your message. So I can disable that and don't have to worry about somebody recording over it in the middle of an event. So let's test this thing out. One thing I want to point out real quick is this handset makes a night and day difference in the quality of the audio. I could not believe how much better this sounded than when I was just basically using the cheap Chinese audio guestbook version. The microphones in those are garbage. This makes all the difference in the world, and I could not believe how clear it sounds. Wait till you hear this. All right, we're going to test the phone out now, and I do have my message pre-recorded. I'm going to use this phone this weekend, actually. I've done numerous tests on it, and I'm like excited to use it because it sounds great. Let's pick it up, and you'll be able to hear.
Hi, this is Matt.
And Melanie. We're having fun enjoying our wedding day, but we'd love to hear from you.
Please leave your name and a quick message after the beep.
Okay, so right now I am recording a little bit of a test message, and once we get this done, I'm going to plug it in, and I'm going to let you guys hear what this message sounds like. All right, guys, here we go. Now, keep in mind, you are hearing this through my computer speakers, and I don't know how well it's going to pick up with the microphone on my phone, but I'm telling you, it sounds clear. Okay, so right now I am recording a little bit of a test message, and once we get this done, I'm going to plug it in, and I'm going to let you guys hear what this message sounds like. What do you think of that? So all in all, I am very impressed with the quality of this thing, and I even found a tote that fits my phone perfectly. Yeah, so it fits in the tote perfectly, and I'm very happy. Can't wait to use this. Thanks for watching, guys.